And we are live on Facebook, so everything is perfect. Tana, you want to introduce?
Okay, are we ready? Okay, so first of all, happy Mother's Day to the mothers who are watching this. I just want to tell you, I'm not a public speaker. It's usually my husband who's the public speaker.
So basically, if I can explain, I know how to speak, but I don't have anything to say. Tana has a lot to say, but she has more a hard time to speak. So tonight we're gonna try together to bring out something nice.
Yeah. So why are we doing this conference tonight? What pushed us to do this conference tonight is when this whole craziness started, this whole pandemic started, our first reaction was fear, of course, and shock of what's happening. And after a few weeks of us settling in with the new reality, I was speaking to my husband and I said, can you imagine when this is going to be over and life is just going to be regular again, back to normal like it was again, without no change? That is my biggest fear. My biggest fear is that I and my husband gets back to our life like it was before, bringing the kids to school, going to work, doing the Chabad activities as if nothing happened. And I said, there's no way after this, 3-4 months, we don't know when it's going to end, hopefully soon, after this quarantine's over, that we're getting back to our normal lives as if nothing happened. Something has to change. And of course, as community leaders, we feel that, the community, we all have to make a change, and the world has to make a change. The way we see things, the way we live, changes have to happen. So yes, so this is what pushed us to do this conference tonight. Whether it's personal change, whether it's changes in the way we see things, little changes. It doesn't have to be big changes, but something has to change.
In honor of Mother's Day, yeah, of course. So I just want to say that it's actually the first time that we are talking, Sterna and me together. So we're gonna see if it works well. We're gonna do it again. If it doesn't work,
we won't do it again.
Only time. So in any case, listen well, because it might be the last time we do that together.
Yeah, hopefully not. Okay. Should I share something? Okay, so one of the something that helps me when I feel like fearful, or I when this started, I didn't know what attitude to have. So what I do is I read a lot. I try to get inspired by people who are knowledgeable, who are experienced, and of course I try to learn things from our mentor, the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And I saw a quote of his that really, really inspired me. So I'm going to share this with you before we start our conference. So this is from when the Rebbe wrote in a letter. This is when he was a child. He wrote, "From the day I began attending school, and even before, a vision of the future exodus began to form in my mind. Such an exodus that all the suffering of exile, the persecutions, and mass destruction could finally be truly understood with all our heart." And okay, so I'm going to say it in my own words and why this touched me. It's basically the Lubavitcher Rebbe, when he was a child, he had a vision of a better time for the world. That it's going to be a time when everyone is going to understand why the Jewish people went through a lot of suffering and mass destruction. And why this spoke to me, especially during this time, is that right now it's not a good time for us. And I have a lot of friends that lost either their parents or have their siblings or family members that are sick. It's not a good time. It's a hard time, and it's a time when you question, like, why is this happening? And when a person, when on myself, in my situation, I went through things that were tough, when I'm able to understand that this situation was for my best, that is when this negative situation became positive, when I'm able to bring something good out of this situation. So when I read this, it really spoke to me. And this is the idea of this conference, is as quarantine is ending, I want to make sure for myself that I come out with something good. And we want to make sure that our community comes out with something good.
So I want to add that as a community leader, I'm in touch with many people. And every day I'm on the phone with this guy, this friend, my family. And with the experience, I see that each one went through this situation in a different way. Some, they enjoyed so much. It was amazing. I mean, it is amazing. We are still in confinement. Amazing. People enjoy with the family and everything. Some people, it's much harder for them. I speak to some people, they say it's too long. I'm out of control with my kids. It's very hard to stay in the same house with my wife. And like some people go very hard in that situation.
And a lot of people also are found alone, and it's very hard for them.
So in our situation, in our case, the question is, how did we handle that situation? And I think that there is the middle path, which is good and bad. I gotta let Sterna explain how the beginning of the confinement, the quarantine, was very hard, but somehow we found the way to switch that over.
Okay, so in the beginning, like my husband said, in the beginning, it was very hard. It was very stressful to have all the kids at home, to be having to cook for them and to feed them. They were always hungry. They were always bored. And there was Pesach, Passover coming. So I had to clean the house. Everything was so overwhelming. And just the fear, I think, out there, the fear of what this virus is going to do, who's going to be affected, are we going to be affected? Everything together was very, very hard. So that was before Pesach, before Passover. And after the holiday, I think we decided that from now on, we have to make sure that we do this quarantine in the best way possible, that our kids enjoy this and have good memories from this quarantine. So we made changes. And the question is, how did we make the changes? Right? You want to?
Yeah. How? What change did we actually, not how, but what was the change that made, in a family, the mother, the wife, we call it in Hebrew akeret habayit. It's the main important thing in the house. And of course, everyone is important. The man, the woman, everyone. No, don't worry. But in the environment, the ambiance of the house will depend more on the wife and on the mother than the father. That's what the Torah says. So it was a lot on the credit is to Sterna, and we had like a changing point, which happened just after Pesach, that we sat down, Sterna and me, and we decided that we cannot just let the situation go like that.
Take over our lives. We have to be on top.
Fighting this and always like being in a rush and having things. We cannot have any more project and stuff. And I think that meeting was the changing point.
So it was first of all both of us wanting to make a change. It was both of us wanting to take our life in control. And sitting down and actually writing down how we're going to make these changes, writing down our goals, what we want, and it's something important. Whether you do it as a couple, whether you do it living alone, whether you do it with a friend, whatever situation you're in, ask yourself: do you ever take time in whatever situation you're facing to sit down and to say, I want to make a change. I want something in my life. I want to get to somewhere. Do you ever take that moment, sit down, write down something, have a vision, think about it, because this is what helped us.
Did you hear about Viktor Frankl? Viktor Frankl is a big psychologist that went through the Holocaust, and he said that one thing that kept him alive is that he thought in his head when the Holocaust will be over, he wants to write a book about the psychology behind the people that go through the Holocaust. So maybe that's a little bit the same idea. Maybe tonight, the event that we're doing, that we want to speak about how we went through the quarantine, maybe in our head, we wanted to do that event and we didn't have any choice. That was our motivation to actually take a step and don't let the quarantine control us, but making sure that we can control in some way what's happening in the day. So I think can you just in one phrase tell what's the most important thing that happened, let's say, in that meeting, in that moment?
I think is sitting down and planning.
So planning is the key. Planning means you have a goal and you have a plan how to get to the goal. To do that, you need a meeting. You have to sit by yourself, with your wife, whatever it is. You sit, you think, because it takes time to think. It's not just, even if you know stuff, but when you sit and you have a time to think about a specific topic, then you are able to digest and find solutions. So sitting down, having goals, thinking about how to reach those goals, write down the different steps, and starting to actually make those steps to change our life.
Yeah. So I also find that a lot of time it can be overwhelming when you have a lot of things you want to change. One thing that helped us. Okay,
so before we go to that, I know now we have a crowd of 10 people on live. I'm sure that we have many more people that register. Maybe some of them they have a hard time to find how to
we have some
connect.
People on Facebook also.
And we have on Facebook we have about another 10 people, and we have people that go to watch the video after. And my question to you is, do you take the time to sit? Okay, we all have issues, we have all difficulties in our life. Do you take the time to sit, to think about what change you want to make in your life and how you will make those changes? Write down a plan and start this plan. Do you have time? Do you take the time to do that? So if the answer is no, my suggestion is you start to do it. And if your answer is yes, so I say you, good job, continue, and make sure to take that even more seriously.
Yeah. And it's important that it's in every aspect of your life. It's not only in your, let's say, your business or in things that are obvious. It's in every single aspect of your life to sit and plan, even things that you never think of, like your personal health. Sometimes people don't think that they can just sit and plan and make changes.
Okay, we have what the color is? Okay, we're gonna go until
I think we should go to
8:30. 8:30. So we have another 10 minutes, and then Beryl Salomon will join us for this amazing talk, amazing conference. So basically, one thing that we spoke, it's about sitting, making meetings, having goals, and making the change. Now, obviously, there is one thing that you need prior to that meeting. You have to believe that you are able to change. You have to believe in yourself. This is very important because many times the issue is that a person doesn't think that he's able to change. Okay, let's take a very simple example. Someone is at a job and he doesn't like his job. He doesn't like his patron, his boss. He doesn't like everything. He gets his paycheck. He needs the paycheck to pay rent and to pay the mortgage or whatever it is, the bills. He wants to go out of this situation. He doesn't know how, and he doesn't believe that he's capable to do another job. And that's what's blocking him. So first of all, you have to believe in yourself. believe that you are able to change. When you believe in yourself, then you can sit and have a meeting. Okay, we're gonna go on practical tips.
So can I just introduce this before we go into practical tips? I just want to share something personal. Why I think we were able to make that change very smoothly, in quarantine. Why we were able to adapt and make those smooth changes. And I must say that my kids have been enjoying it. We have been enjoying it since we made those changes. And I think we're going to have very good memories. So what helped us get to this? So a few years back, I went through a very hard time. And that was a turning point in my life. That period in my life was either I sink, I drown, I stay at the bottom of the wave, or I make that the bottom of my wave to be able to rise. And I made that choice to rise. And by making that choice, it was very, very difficult. I had to make a lot of changes in every aspect of my life, in the way in my habits. This is one of the hardest things, is to change habits. And the way
can I add something here?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yes. All right, so just to put you more in the situation without going too much in the details, in life, you have like the regular life. You wake up, you do your job, you get some money, you put some money aside. Everything goes smooth, and suddenly you get an éclair, a strike. You get strike. It could happen. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it could be that in your life something comes, and everything that you used to do doesn't work anymore. And if all the plans that you had, were family plan, project, everything fall apart. And actually, it's not just good for, like, in our experience, we went through a situation where we had to cancel, even for the Chabad. We have, like, the first thing that we had to cancel is the Tu Bishvat. I don't know how many years ago. Was it 7 years ago? 8 years ago?
8 years ago.
8 years ago, we had our all event on Tu Bishvat, and we even had a guy that was supposed to come and to speak. A guest speaker. So it was really an important event. We sent to everyone, and 3 days before the event, we got in a situation where everything had to be cancelled. Like myself, I didn't know what's going to be the future. Would my family stay?
Nothing. Everything was falling apart.
Yeah. Would we have to move, to stop our community here? Like, everything was at risk. And thanks to my wife, because she believed in herself so much, and we believe together that we are in this situation together, and we can come out from that situation if we work together. And we started to sit, to plan, to work, to think, and to believe that we can. It's like there is this famous quote that says, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So we believe, it's not just to believe, we live that situation. We knew that until we have breath, we can overcome that. And the day that we're going to be able to overcome that, we're going to be stronger. So from the beginning of our marriage, we had like the easy life, going, wake up, sleep, sing. Then this big bomb atomic, very like risky situation. From that moment, we understood that we have to change our way we manage our life. We have to go more in strategy, in meetings, in goals, in projects. We have to think about making us.
So let me continue. What I found in this situation was very overwhelming when you have to change everything. Like, there's so much to change. Where do you begin? And the change that has to do is so hard. So
want to say that when I'm talking about going out of the situation, it's not a one-day experience. It's a year, 2, 3. It took many years for us to really completely go out of that situation. Our hope is maybe one day we're going to be able to
share it, yeah.
To share the details of all that. And the reason is just because we know that there is many other people that go through those kind of situation, and by us sharing it to other, we can help other to actually also come out of the situation.
Exactly. So that's one of the reasons what pushed us to share this tonight. And wait, let me get back to my thinking track. What helped me be able to make these changes was first planning, and second was changing little things, not making big changes.
Beryl Salomon is coming soon in the live. We are good. Okay, continue.
Making little changes. So we're not going to share with you everything, but we sat down. We sat down and we wrote 10 tips that we did in our life as a couple that really made changes, and we want to share them with you because we think that that everyone can sit down and write these 10 tips that works for you. You know, it's going to be different for everyone, but sometimes it's those little changes that make the bigger change as a whole. Okay?
So first of all, it's very important to have fun. We have this conference. We are very happy. We prepared that for weeks and we stress a lot. Sterna and me together we stress, but we know that it's fun to be with you guys and to share with you our tips. I'm sure that all of you has 20 tips. And I encourage you to also do your own conference very soon, and we're going to participate. We want to watch how you deal with stuff. But for now, we wrote down 10 plus a bonus tip, little things that I added.
I didn't see that bonus.
Yeah, no, I added after, before I print the page, I added a few things on my own. So 10 little tips, and it's things that are part of our life today. And this is things that little details that we actually discuss in meetings and, stuff we spoke before. Okay, Stanley, you can.
Okay, so I'm going to read. So tip number 1 is we have regular weekly meetings okay. He's going to be back. So I'm going to be alone. This is scary, actually.
Go, Stanley, go.
So the first tip is we have regular meetings where we cover all the aspects of our lives, whether it's personal, whether it's Chabad, whether it's our kids, and we go through them and we try to focus on one point where we want to improve. So I think this is life-changing. We have it every week. Sometimes we skip a week, but just to have something regular really makes a change, and we see ourselves advance in every aspects of our lives. Tip number 1. Tip number 2 is we try at the end of the Motzei Shabbat, when Shabbat is over, we try to take one good resolution to work on for that week. It could be anything from sleeping early to, calling, someone, either a family member, someone important. It's really one resolution that we keep just for a week. Again, it's just a week, because when you want to do a resolution that's longer, it may be sometimes overwhelming. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3. This is funny. I thought Zalman would be here to share this, but it was life-changing, so we'll share with you. We have water bottles by our bed. We go to sleep drinking water, and we wake up drinking water. And for some reason in our health, it like changed our life. Little tip, but it's definitely changed something in the bigger picture. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4 is exercise regularly. Okay, and this was very hard for me. I'm just going to share personally. My husband, when I married him, he was always into sport, and he tried to get me into sport, and it didn't work. It really didn't work. And again, until back
exercise.
Number 4, yes.
Okay,
until 8 years ago, after Michal was born, that's when I had to force myself to exercise, and I started with a little bit, and today it became something part of my routine.
Can I just go over the four before we continue? No?
Yeah.
Okay, the tea time for yourself. So beside beside the meetings that we have, which is big meetings, and we discuss how to improve our life in different fields, we have those time, which is usually every day before we go to sleep.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Every day before we go to sleep, we gotta just sit and have a tea. We don't discuss important stuff. We just relax. We're enjoying our time. And this is for number 5.
It's time for yourself, whether you do it with someone, whether you do it alone, whether you drink tea or coffee or wine. Time for yourself is very important daily.
You do number 6.
Number 6, organization. Okay, this is something that I worked on for a while. So organization is the key to have your life run smoothly. And organization includes cleanliness, timing, that everything is timely, and rules, knowing who has what rules. Okay, so this in our house, in our meeting, it's discussed. In general, we implement it in our life.
Basically, organization is in many different fields. Your life should be organized. Let's say this is a water bottle. Actually, we got for Chaya's Bas Mitzvah. It says Rabbi Z on it. So this needs to have a place. Actually, we don't have a place for that.
No, not yet.
It goes around the house. So basically, any element in your house needs to have one specific place. Same thing for rolls in the house. You need rolls. Every roll needs to have one person. Can I give an example?
Yeah.
For example, I gotta give you one thing that I do all the time and one thing that Sterna does all the time. So me, Friday nights, after the meal, I prepare the tea for the guests, for everyone. So that's my role. Maybe sometimes I will be very tired. I gotta ask to Sterna to do it. It could happen, but we know that the person that does that is me. Then there is, for example, the dishes, washing dishes. We got married very quickly. I told Sterna I don't like to put my hands in water and soap. I don't know, for some reason I don't like to wash the dishes. So this is her job. Of course, sometimes, very rarely, I will mettre la main à la pâte, comme on dit en français. So put my hands in the water and wash the dishes. I do it rarely, but it's okay, because we know that this is her job. When she does that, I have some other job to do, and this is organization, mopping, doing the vacuum. I like to do it. Vacuum, you know, I see the crumbs going in the vacuum. It makes me happy. And timing also, organization in the time. This goes that time. This goes that time. Time to sleep, the kids and everything. So basically, the idea of organizing your life could be in different fields, but this is a very important tip, which is not only a tip, it's a big thing, and you have to put that in your life, that it should be part of your life. Number 7.
Before I go to number 7, I just want to say, as we're sharing these tips, this is a lot of information. For some people, you might share better tips with us. You might be doing this already. And for some people, it might seem overwhelming. But this is when I hear conference, I love to listen to conference or read a lot of things on people that are trying to improve their lives. I always try to come out with one thing from that person that I learned. So even if it's one thing that talks to you strongly, whether it's tea time at night or whether it's exercising or whether it's organization, just to take one thing, I think it's important so you don't get overwhelmed. Number 7 is making. Okay, so this is interesting. This is mainly for okay, in our personal life, when we make choices, whether it's trips with the family, whether it's choices in how our daily routines is going to go, how our week is going to go. We always try to make a choice that's going to make us happy and our kids happy. And I find a lot of time parents make choices that either is going to be only good for them or only good for their kids. And it's very important to find that balance.
You know, these parents that go crazy to bring the kid here and bring them back there and here and there, and they go crazy all day, and they finish the day tired, and they don't have a life because they give their life for the kids, which is very good, and I respect that a lot. But at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, if you don't make sure that the decisions are good for your kids, but for you also, one day these decisions going to come back to you, and you're going to get, like we say, a clack.
Yeah, and also it's not giving such a good message to the kids that
and
you're not important.
Actually, yeah, that's even more important, because you want to teach your kids that you also have a value.
Yeah,
C'est important. You're important. You don't just become nothing because of your kid. So they learn to respect you even more.
And I think this tip, before we go to number 8 that you're going to share, this tip is important in a couple, or when you're working with other people. Always try to make a choice that works for both of you, not just for one person. Always think of the other person, or always think about if you're someone who always thinks about others and not yourself, try to think about yourself and make choices that are happy for both of you, so that you have self-respect and you respect the other person. So tip number 8.
Before we go to number 8, I just want to remind you that you can write in the comments, ask any question. I see that we have already a few questions that we got to.
We'll
okay,
read
we're going to read the questions at the end, and we're going to try to answer all the questions. I mean, of course, if this is questions that it's not private or whatever, so we're going to try to answer. So please take the time, write it. I'm sure you all have questions. Actually, I got some questions by email before, so we're going to try to read them. But take the time to ask the question, and we're going to try to answer any question. So number 8, knock on the door before entering. So actually, people find that very funny. But before I enter my house, I always knock on the door. Always. Maybe sometimes if I know there is nobody in the house, I will not knock. But even that, I think my habit is to knock on the door, any door, not any, but especially the main door of the house. My habit is to knock on the door before I enter the house. In the house, there is maybe only my wife, the kids, maybe the cleaning lady or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I knock on the door. And actually, the source of that is in the Talmud. I won't go too much in that. But the idea behind that, it's respect. Respect that you don't just open the door and you don't come by surprise to the people that are inside. You know, whatever they do, maybe there is a few things that they're not comfortable to do it in front of you, and you don't want to put them in this situation. So it's not really about the situation, is about respect. And maybe Stanley want to say how you do you find that habit a nice habit?
So in the beginning, it was funny for me that he knocked, because I wasn't raised like that. But now I sometimes do it, and I saw how it's beautiful that you respect the person who's inside by knocking before. So yes, it triggers more. It's the little action that triggers bigger change.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go for number 9. So just before we go to number 9, as you see in the tips, in the practical tips, you have some very heavy stuff like meetings and organization and goals and things. And then you have like little stuff like
water bottles.
Water bottle next to the bed and knocking on doors. But according to me, and I think that the message we want to give is that there is no little and big. When we talk about habits, it's things that integrate your life. And whatever the size, it could be a little thing or a big thing, the impact on your life is as big. And the reason is because anything that you do in your life regularly, it becomes big with the time. So a little thing that you do, drinking water every day, it's very not very big deal. but in 1, 2, 3, 10 years, that's going to make a huge change in your life, as big or similar to the other habit, which is planning, meetings, organization.
So I just want to say, like, that first meeting we had back 8 years ago, after when we wanted to make change, I never thought I would get to where I got to today, because it was so overwhelming. It was so much. And it came with, like you said, it came with time. It really, if you believe in yourself, if you work on the little things, if you plan, after you won't see the change right away, but after a couple of years, you'll see the change. And when you look back, you'll be like, wow, this is amazing.
Talking about meetings, I want to say that many times when we go on meetings, we write down projects. So last time I remember, it was a meeting we had like 2 years ago. And we wrote down about 8 projects, doing that. And each project, you always think that a project takes 2 weeks to do. At the end, usually it takes 5 or 3 times the effort and the time that you planned. Every time you are planning you think that this project is going to take you that effort, okay? And at the end, it takes you double, actually not double, like 10 times more effort. So we wrote down about 10 projects, and this paper, I scotched it to the wall of the kitchen, and I think it's still there. And these 10 projects, we plan to do them in the next month. At the end, the next month, we did only 1 of them. And at a certain time, we even forgot about this paper, because there was so many projects that it's almost impossible to do. But when I came back 6 months later on that paper, I told Sterna, look, this project we wrote down 6 months ago in the meeting, and it's done. So now we can mark it off. And then we go a year later, and I can tell you really, like, without realizing, you write down your project, and slowly you get into them, and you see that things that 3 years ago in your head it was like a project, 3 years later it becomes something that is already happening. And
that's part of your
magic.
Life.
That's the magic of having meetings, writing your goals, and starting to go toward those goals. Let's get back to practical tips.
So number 9 is a big one. I find it's apologize. It's very hard. I find personally for me, is being able to accept that you made a mistake and to tell the other person you're sorry. So apologize is big, whether it's to your wife, to your husband, to your kids, to your colleagues, to your friends. I think it's very, very important, apologizing. And the last one, to top it all off, is, and that's something that we have a lot in our house, is having fun. Always make sure to have fun in your life, to have humor. In quarantine, we couldn't go out. We love to go out with my kids. Usually we have trips, family trips. We couldn't go out, but we made sure to organize night activities, and to make sometimes some nights dancing parties, to have fun in our life. Whatever it is, fun.
Go crazy a little bit.
You have to have fun. You can't have, with all the planning and the seriousness that you're making in your life and the changes you're making in your life, you have to combine that with fun.
So last time I played dead on the floor. And the kids, they come, they know that I'm joking, but after 2-3 minutes, they start to panic. What happened to that? And then suddenly I stand up and I start to dance like a crazy, and all the kids start to dance and they go crazy. Everyone go crazy.
He's definitely the king of fun.
Having fun. I remember that phrase. I don't think I heard it directly from my grandfather, but my brothers would tell me that. My grandfather used to say, in French, sois sérieux, mais ne te prends pas au sérieux. Be serious, but don't
take yourself
too seriously. So just learn how to just let it go crazy, go have fun, do jokes, ridiculous jokes, and stuff like that. Because life, we need to enjoy life. We have a bonus goal, not a bonus goal, sorry. We have a bonus today, bonus tip. Okay, so we went over 10 tips. I promise you, I guarantee you, if you do those 10 tips,
if you find yourself 10
find
tips
new
that
tips,
works.
your own tips. But you know what? I like Stana told me before. When you read a book, when you listen to a conference, you don't have to imitate what you read and what you hear. You just have to take one thing here, one, two, three habits from everything we spoke. That's little thing gonna make a change in your life, and I'm sure that you have you're reading books and different things that also gonna help you. Before I go to the bonus tip, I want just to say something that when I thought about the conference tonight, you know what I thought about? I thought about Noah. Noah, you know who Noah is? Noah lived a long time ago, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago in the Bible. And he was in a world that went through the flood. And how did he survive the flood? Is by entering the teva. The teva is the ark, the boat. He built a big boat, and that boat was so amazing that saved him from the flood. Now you know what? The boat. I can tell you that even if you build the biggest boat, you're gonna be scared when the flood's gonna come. You know, we all know the story of the Titanic and all these big planes and big boats that even if they are really proven to resist big situations, but there was some incident and everybody died, especially by Noah. The flood was a flood that was a mix of water and fire. So Noah is building a teva of wood, and fire come and destroy wood. So how Noah would be so how come Noah felt so safe? It's not safe. And there is two answers to that. There is one answer is that Noah was believing in God, and God told him to build the teva. So he knows that if he does that, he's going to be safe. So that's also one big lesson in our life, because Mia is here, everyone is here, amazing. You have to believe in God, but God is not somewhere like in the heaven. It's in you. You believe in you. Believe that if you build the right boat, you are able, instead of sinking, you are able to raise above turmoil.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the theme of our speech. So all this stuff is like building a boat that when you don't wait for the flood to come to build a boat. You build your boat, you build a strong family, you build a strong connection with your wife, with your family, with everyone you live with, and you build good habits, you make important decisions in your life, that the day when the flood will come, instead of sinking, you're going to raise, the flood will make you raise, and you're going to be above any danger. So now the bonus tip, I give that tip because it's my thing maybe.
Yeah.
It's get dressed well, even if you don't expect visitors. Dress well. You wake up in the morning. I made a joke for my sister-in-law engagement party. I made a joke that we had a Zoom engagement party. It was a month ago.
Yeah.
So my joke was that I got dressed very nicely with a tie and everything, and I wore the pajama pants. So first of all, I took a picture and I shared on Facebook. So the idea was for the Facebook fans to have a moment of laughing. But then we made an all Zoom engagement, and no one thought that maybe I don't even wear the pants I wore a pants, but not the one of the suit. But then whatever, at the end, we were like only a few people, and I stand up and whatever, we laughed again, laughing humor. So that I did that only for the joke. And even when I did that, I planned exactly what pajama pants to wear. the worst one to make the contrast with the contrast with the suit. Okay, I think Beryl is us.
Yeah,
is
Beryl
here
is
with
coming.
us. So it's coming. Okay.
What's up, guys?
Oh,
Hi.
Beryl, how
So
are you?
I just want to make a little
How
introduction.
How you doing, everybody?
Let's unmute.
Okay, so no, Beryl, okay. No, Beryl is on.
Okay, so I just want to introduce. So I've been following Beryl for a while, and what amazed me why I brought him tonight is as we're talking about change and making sure that when this pandemic is over, there will be change. I think one of the biggest fears that people had is financially, and I loved how from growing his company, he right away adapted and changed it and was super positive and went to help people. So I thought you were very inspiring, and I would love that to share that with our community. And
Sure.
very thank you.
I want to say that for you guys that don't know Beryl, his name is Big B in the Zoom. Soon I'm gonna put him in spotlight. You're gonna be able to see him in big. But I want to say my experience, because I saw Beryl in the beginning of the quarantine, and Beryl said, "What do you guys do? Don't worry." He came like in the picture, going in the office and don't considering the quarantine. But then very quickly, like 3 days later, the whole Quebec, Canada, they realized the danger of the situation. And right away, I saw Beryl writing on his post, "Guys, I made a mistake. This is the way we have to do. This is how I change." And that's why I respect so much Beryl, because he's open to the people and he recognizes his like mistakes, and he's not afraid to share that with the people and teach them how to deal with mistakes. So I hope, Beryl, we introduce you well, and you're now in the, one second.
Let's put you spotlight.
You are now in the spotlight. Okay, so thank you, Beryl,
right.
for joining us.
Good. Could you see me by video, by the way? Hello. Could you see me?
Yeah, we see you. You're frozen, actually.
Oh, hang on. I'm just gonna go where there's better. Hang on. Better service in my house. 1 second, guys. Sorry, guys.
So I thank you, Beryl, for being here to the conference. So many people, they heard that you're gonna be here.
They came to see you.
Yeah, they all say we don't want to miss Beryl. We heard about him and we want to hear what he has to say. And all right, now we see you well. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Oh, I'm just putting you on my stand over here. Hang on. Are you sure you want to hear what I have to say? Because what I have to say is a little controversial.
We want to hear. Controversial.
We always have the option to.
I can't turn it off, so I can't also, I don't want to offend anybody, so I could just go for it.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
The stage is yours.
So I got to tell you that it's very easy to move forward right now in the world because everybody's sleeping because of COVID. And I'm finding that all you have to do today to be successful is to be willing to do something at all. Because most people, I'll give you an example. I'm having trouble getting people to work for me because they're enjoying collecting their check from the government. So they don't want to work. So the people that are working for me, guess what? When this whole thing is over, they're going to be my right-hand man or woman because they were working. And I think that a lot of people took this thing way too far. And I saw a post from this guy the other day on his LinkedIn, on his LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever it was. And the guy is in the suit business. Guy has never been able to make a living before, never able to be a success. And he's talking about how we should stay closed for the next 6 months. Why? Because he doesn't want to face his misery of going back to his office. Because he knows that as soon as he does, he's going to be reminded of how he didn't make it. And it's a shame because everybody has their own reason for staying in this quarantine, for staying inside their house, for shutting down the government, for shutting down society. Everybody has their own reason. And sometimes it actually has nothing to do with being sick whatsoever. So I think right now is a time where the people who in a good economy, in a good world, when everything is smooth, when everything is easy, everybody's able to make it. All you have to do is put your, I always say in New York City, all you have to do to be successful is open up what's it called? Is open up a store, put open on the front door, and because you're in New York City, you have hundreds of thousands of people going past your store every day, so you'll sell something, right? So when things are good, everybody's able to make it. When things are rough, a lot of people can't make it. I see a lot of people giving up right now, and I see a lot of people who are not readjusting. They're thinking that the world is going to go back to the way that it was. It is never going back to the way that it was. The world as you and I knew it is over. It's done. It's a new world with new priorities. I would not want to be Gucci today. I would not want to be Versace or Prada. People are not into luxury today. People are into what's popular today? Walmart. You know what it used to be, I'm sure you guys remember this. It used to be that when you said you were shopping at Walmart, people thought you were poor. People looked down on you. People thought you were cheap. Now it's like, what do you mean? You're buying Versace? You're buying Gucci? What's the matter with you? You see, there's influencers today that used to post about all their, glamorous lives, about their glamour, about what they're buying, about what they're this, about what they're that. And those influencers today, if they dare post that, their people will hit them because they're saying, how dare you talk about the Gucci purse you just bought when I'm having trouble putting food on my table? How dare you? So a lot of people think that the world is going back. The world is never going back. Guys, if you're watching this, you lost your job, but they laid you off, chances are you're not getting your job back. I got to tell you. The airline let off 60% of their people. Those 60% are never coming back. And by the time the airline recovers, they will have found other people and you will have found another job, which brings me to my next point. Now that I've lost my job or I've lost my business, okay, my business disappeared overnight on me. I had $250,000 in contracts booked in the month that COVID took place. They were overnight. They were wiped out. 3.5 years of momentum wiped out. So I had two options. I could either sit and cry, and I could freak out, which I did, by the way. I did cry. I locked myself in the very room that you're in right now, and I was crying, feeling bad for myself that my whole life was taken away from me. Or what we do is we could figure out, how do I change? How do I shift? How do I grow? How do I move? So many companies right now need people because people are scared to go back to work because the media has built it into our heads that if you're going to go outside, you're going to die. And if you're not going to die from COVID, you're going to die from some giant killer hornet that just came into the media, CNN, Fox. They want people on their couch, sick, with worry all day. They love when people are in their house because the more they're on their house, the more they're in their house, the more they're on their phone, and people are miserable and people are scared. So people have to do two things. If you own a business, you got to pivot right away, right? We went from selling $10,000 or $15,000 products. Now I sell $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 products. We used to send videographers to locations. Now we do it remotely or hire a remote videographer. We send kits, just like the one that I'm holding right now, right? So we'll send this kit to a client. They'll film with the footage and they'll send it to us and we'll edit it. And guess what? It's a fraction of the price. It's much easier. It's much quicker. And the product at the end of the day is great. So business owners have to adapt. That's for sure. Now what happens if you lost your job? You have to first accept the fact that the job is not coming back. They're never getting their job back again. I had 19 people that worked for me, and I will be lucky if I take back 5 of those people. Why? Because I realized how inefficient I was. At a certain point, my assistants had assistants. That is not sustainable. And guess what? Who is miserable at the end of the day? Me. Because every 2 weeks I have to figure out how to pay them. So now we changed to a model where we're doing things much more efficiently, but also diversify. A lot of people were stuck, when there's a lot of opportunity, okay? There's a concept. Am I babbling too much? You guys want to throw something in here or I can keep on going? Hello?
It's perfect.
Yeah, you are good.
It's perfect. We love it.
Let's keep on going.
Yes.
Amazing.
Are you guys recording this?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Here's another thing. Where was I? When the economy is doing good, okay, it's flowing. Think about it. It's flowing like a river, a very, very strong river with a ton of fish, okay? A ton of fish going through that river. I'm coming up with this analogy on the spot, so please forgive me. And imagine yourself, each company or each person is like a fishing boat. And that fishing boat is looking for a very specific type of fish. Why? Because they know there's an abundance of that fish. They fished it before. They have their process for catching their fish. The hook is perfect for that fish, or the net is perfect for that fish. They know exactly how much could fit on a boat. So they're looking for, let's say, tuna, and that's all they want, right? So everything is perfectly calibrated for tuna. So that's a very small spectrum of what they're looking for in terms of clients, in terms of revenue. Right now, because the tide has changed and because the current has changed, we now have to widen our net and say, okay, if I got my livelihood from producing videos for nursing homes in the States, which is a very, very small niche that fish has to go through, now I have to open up and say, okay, now I have to figure out new industries and new ways of filming my videos. So I open it up a little bit. And now I see that there's a demand for masks, let's say. So I start selling masks. And now I see there's a demand for hand sanitizer. So I start opening up that. And now I see there's a demand for hand sanitizer stands. And I open up. So I'm opening up my net and I'm allowing all kinds of different flows to flow to me instead of just going to a little specific place. Now, how does this relate to let's say a Chabad Shliach, or somebody that has a job, okay? How does it relate to, let's start with the Chabad Shliach. If you're used to, you have your core 20 people, right? You have your core 20 people that you're used to doing business, you're used to getting donations from, and they come to your synagogue and their checks come every month. And now you see, out of those 20 people, now only 8 of them are giving. I mean, I hope to God it's more. But the first thing that people cut, very silly, very stupidly, I should say, that deserves a strong word. It's stupid. They cut their donations when the economy is bad. I right away, I increased my donations by 400%. My whole world is falling apart, and I increased my donations because I know that God's blessings comes from donations. But unfortunately, not a lot of people look at it like that. So now you're a rabbi, you have 20 people that are your big donors, 30, 40, whatever it is. Now it gets cut in half. What do? Now you have to open up your spectrum. You have to open up the way that you are your net, right? So here's a small example. I'm just throwing it out there. A lot of your congregants, a lot of the kids that usually come to your synagogue, let's say on Shabbat, they're sitting home alone. They're driving their parents nuts. Maybe offer a class once a week or twice a week, charge a few $100s, to educate their kids and give Hebrew classes online. I'm just giving an example. But we have to think outside the box. Now let's talk about a person who lost their job, right? So they were the secretary at who knows, at Air Canada, or they were they're working in a movie theater. And now their boss tells them, a month and a half ago, hey, Johnny, we're closing for 2 weeks because of COVID, but don't worry, we'll be open again at the end of COVID. Why am I saying don't worry with a smile on my face? Because I told my employees the same thing. They told us to close for 2 days, for 2 weeks. It's 6 weeks and we're still closed. Doesn't make sense. So now Johnny has 2 options. He could either wait for Cineplex Odeon to call him back, or he could start working his network to find a new job. But guess what? Johnny, or Susan, is pummeled by the media, petrified to go out, thinks the world has already ended. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out moving product all day, every day. If you didn't watch the news, you wouldn't think that there's a crisis going on. Maybe there's a crisis in the hospital, some hospitals, but there's no crisis going on. It's only on television. It's like people who go to Israel for the first time, they think they're walking into a war zone. Then you go to Israel, and it's like the most beautiful place in the world. You have Tel Aviv, you have Jerusalem, you have Sfat, you have Eilat. It's the most beautiful place you've ever been to. Peaceful, enjoyable. But people who walk through think they're walking into a war scene. You walk outside, people have not been outside for a month and a half. It's great, not even for a walk. And they'll be in quarantine for 4 months. So what I'm trying to say here, ladies and gentlemen, is think for yourself. The saying, we're in this together, people would say that to me in the beginning. We're in this together. So if we're in this together, it means that this ship is sinking and they want me to be on the same ship as them with, you know, anybody who saw Titanic with the violin playing in the background, and let's all hold hands as the ship sinks into the abyss. I'm not on that boat. And you shouldn't be either. Let's take the first lifeboat we could find. Let's throw it into the water and let's paddle to safety. Because I'm not going down on this ship. I worked too darn hard my whole life for a cold and the flu to take me out. And you should too. What do you think, Samama? What do you think, Zalman?
Yeah, very amazing.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
So I know people have questions. I have a few questions, but I would love to hear other people. Okay.
Sure.
And while they ask, I'm going to ask my question. I have one question.
How many people are joining us?
So there's
We have about 20.
over here we have 10 people on Zoom, but then we have on live, we have another
we have on Facebook, and apparently we had like a 30 reservation, but maybe some people didn't, like they following on
Facebook. Yeah.
These 10 people are the most important 10 people on planet Earth.
Yes, exactly. That's how we live.
Yes, 100%. I know each of them personally, and I can.
We can attest to that. Yes.
Yes. Let's go to questions.
So while we wait for the questions, do you think? Okay, because we were just talking how when this is over, my biggest fear is that people go back to their regular lives, and you're 100% convinced that it's not going to be the same. What makes, for me, I personally think that it won't be the same because I'm going to make a change. But how do you know that the whole world is going to be different? How do you know that it's for sure not going to be like in finances? I know that's what people are worried about. How are you so sure?
It's a good question. Hang on, I think I'm frozen here, right?
Yes, you are.
Am I frozen? I looked angry when I was frozen. Hang on. Hang on. I am angry, to be honest with you. I'm upset. I'm upset for a lot of people. Hang on.
Okay. Great. So sorry, where were we? What was the question?
How are you 100% sure that the world is not going to be the same? And in finances, you're probably talking in finances, but in other aspects, how are you so convinced? Because I'm afraid that we're just going to get back to the normal routine. People are just waiting for that, and as if nothing happened.
So are you talking about like you don't want it to go back to normal because
I
like
think we need to change. I think the world is not in a good place.
You're talking like the spiritual aspect. I would assume.
I think in every aspect. I think in priorities and in financials and I don't think people had their values. And when I say people, I'm talking about myself, and I'm talking about the messages that the world was giving us and that we were running after because it's just out there, especially with social media. How are you 100% convinced that we're not going to be, like you said, like Gucci's is not going to be the same anymore, like that people are going to focus on the real values? Right now they are, but how do you know that as soon as everything gets back to normal, they're not going to get back to their regular habits?
Look, I always, whenever I, make projections of the world, I like to look at myself first as a member of the world. And I myself, I'll give you an example. The name of my company is Wealthy Commercials. When I made the name 3-4 years ago, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. Today, I happen to hate the name because I think that it's obnoxious. I think that anything that is wealthy in your face is obnoxious. I would much prefer, today it would be called essential commercials,
Wow.
right? Because I think that this word essential became something that became popular. You know, when something was essential before, it was taken for granted. Nobody ever respected the fact that they could go to the supermarket and get whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. Today, people are humbled at the fact that that is something that they are able to do. And it was always essential, but now they actually appreciate it. So I don't think that if you look at the root word of what essential, what is the root word? Essence. I don't think that it ever happened as long as you and I are alive, or maybe even our parents, that people were brought back to what is essential and also were brought back to their essence. I remember when the foodery truck would show up at my door because IGA wasn't delivering. IGA failed us during this whole thing, COVID. I'm sorry to say, IGA. You have to send emails for kosher products, ridiculous. But when the foodery truck came, that was like the best part of my day. Why? Because I realized that food equals life. And I finally became grateful for something that I forever was not grateful for. So can it stay like that forever? I don't know. I don't know if anything is forever. You know, I guess you could say the same thing after World War II. You know, when people came to America and they would make sure they would finish their plate because they knew what it was like not to have food in Europe. But here's America, the richest country in the world, Canada, right up there. We never experienced a shortage in our lives. I never one time in my entire life could not get something. Today, my wife is trying to order some, who knows what, a trampoline for the summer because the kids are home all day. You cannot get a trampoline today. You cannot get one. I remember there was a time where you could not get Purell, probably even still today. You cannot get even flour. And people don't even realize it was maybe only for a week. You cannot find flour in any of the stores in the supermarkets.
I thought she wants flowers. I said I cannot buy.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. So I don't think that we've ever experienced a shortage before. So how can we guarantee it's not going to go back? No one can guarantee it. But I think it's very healthy.
Already. You're saying we changed already. That's amazing.
We changed.
That is amazing.
But the problem is, let me tell you the problem is that I'm a very strong-minded person. And this thing really messed me up. I remember one night, I woke up in a panic attack. And there was a lot of nights when COVID first started, I thought I had it. I was taking sleeping pills. I had such anxiety.
We all went through that.
Right? And I'm a very strong-willed person. And there's some people out there that are not as strong-willed, that they're still messed up from this thing. And they're going to be messed up for a long time. I'm over it. Beryl Solomon's out of COVID. I social distance. As you see, I have my office here. I don't go to my office. But as far as my brain is concerned, I'm out of isolation. Right? There's a physical isolation, but there's not a mental isolation. You walk on the street, people are nuts. They're literally nuts. They're so scared of their own shadows. The fear is so ingrained in them that unfortunately, it's very hard if you don't have God in your life. It's very hard to take the good and to separate the bad from the good. Unfortunately, most people, if you don't have God in your life, you think that COVID is this evil monster that happened to you. But when you have God in your life, you appreciate that COVID was brought by God. And you know that God is good. So you look for the hidden pockets and hidden gems within COVID. COVID was the best thing that ever happened to my life, ever. I'm sorry for all the people that got sick. My wife got sick. I'm sorry to all the people who passed away and had family members that passed away. But for me, Beryl Solomon, I'm so thankful to Hashem, to God, for bringing COVID into my life. It was the best thing that ever happened. I was in a prison in my business. I had 19 people that were working for me. I was in a contract-based business with salaried employees. That's like the worst mix. So it got me out of that and freed me up and allowed me to utilize hidden talents that I had within me that I wasn't able to exercise because the flow, as we spoke about before, the flow was so strong with the specific thing that I needed So I didn't have to utilize other talents that I had. Now I've opened that up, and I'm finally utilizing all my God-given talents. It's been very, very good to me. Very, very thankful and grateful. And when the whole thing started, I said to my wife, I said, you know what, this is painful. I closed my office. You know what that means for me? I'm like a workaholic. At least she thinks so. My wife thinks so. I don't think so. But she thinks so.
That is very, very inspiring. Thank you for sharing.
We have some other questions.
Yeah, we have some other questions. So someone asked, what business should we invest in right now that you think is worth it?
Essential businesses.
Okay.
You have to look and say, what does the world need right now? I'll tell you what the world doesn't need right now, okay? The world doesn't need Ferraris. The world doesn't need designer clothes. The world, you know what I would do? You know, I don't know. It depends how big people's aspirations are. Personally, I would like to give millions of dollars to charity, so I have to make tens of millions of dollars. So I have big aspirations. Doesn't mean that everybody has to have those same aspirations, by the way. It just happens to be that's what I enjoy. I enjoy business. People like sports. I can't stand sports. I have no interest to watch it, to play it. I hate it. I like business. It just happens to be my entertainment. It's actually what calms me down. But like, I'll give you a perfect example. Kids' shoes, okay? My kids need shoes right now, but I cannot go into a store with my kids to buy them shoes. So what I would do is, if I was a an entrepreneur looking to make money in COVID, I would go to Walmart and I would buy a whole bunch of kids' shoes, and I would literally walk around to my neighbors and sell those shoes for twice what I bought. If I bought the pair of shoes for $20, I'd sell it for $40. I'd buy them. I'd buy 3 pairs of shoes. My kids' shoes are tight because COVID will not allow us to go to the store. So that's an example. So what business? I think that there's a lot of money to be made right now in things that are lacking. I can't tell you what to invest in a month because I don't know what's going to be in a month.
So it's like a day-to-day. You have to see day-to-day what's in there.
Yeah, I mean, also try to look long term. I think anyone trying to get into the mask business will miss the boat by at least, let's say, a month. I had friends in New York that were doing this for 2 months, and generally whatever happens in the States is, let's say, is always ahead of Canada. So I had friends in the States that taught me about this, and I was fortunate enough to get in at the right time, but I'm getting out because we used to have an expression in the metal business. When your cab driver would tell you how hot the price of copper is, it's time to sell copper because it's going to go down.
Oh,
When everybody found out about Bitcoin, how great it was time to sell.
wow.
So what business would you invest in? Essential stuff that people need, not stuff that people don't need.
I have a
Schools, for example, schools are going to be closed. Summer camps are going to be closed. Parents need to entertain their kids. I think swing sets, find a swing set manufacturer, knock on their door, and go represent them door to door to all of your neighbors, or post it on your Facebook. Start selling swing sets. People need that today. And one thing will lead to another, right? So you'll sell a swing set to a guy or a woman who, let's say, they're in the food business, or they're in the medical supply. I don't know. But one thing leads to another in business. That's what I've always found.
Beryl, your father, his name is Jeff, right?
Yes.
Because we have one guy here in the Zoom here present that was with your father in school.
Oh yeah?
Then we go, yeah.
Okay, there's
Was he
another
good?
question. Someone is selling their house right now. Do you think it's a good idea?
The worst time possibly in history to sell your house. I don't even think no one's going to buy it. I mean, I give you a blessing that you should sell it and you should get more than you had hoped for it. But according to nature, this is the worst time ever to sell a house.
You know,
Everyone's
okay.
It's a good time to buy a house.
Okay.
It's a good time to buy a house.
He said it's a good time to buy a house, but not sell a house. Okay.
Beryl, I have a question for you. This is my own question. My wife had one chance. I have one chance too. we spoke a lot tonight about, even before you came, your organization, success in life and stuff like that. I'm a rabbi, you are a rabbi like me or whatever religious Jew. I want to know if the religion helped you in your success. If the answer is yes, how? In very short, like what's the main point that you can speak about?
1,000,000%. When this whole thing started, I think I mentioned it. There's such a concept in Judaism. It's called Gam Zula Tova. It means this thing is also for good. So when the world is falling apart, when I was kicked out of my office, when my contracts were canceled, when I was having panic attacks and taking sleeping pills, I turned to my wife and said, I don't understand why God is doing this, but I know that it's good. And I know that a book called Tanya tells us that when you're going through a hard time and experiencing difficulty, to thank God for the goodness that he's providing for you, because it's such a high level of good, we're just not able to see it revealed with our own eyes. And then Judaism goes further. It says, if you say that, God will then take the situation. He won't need to give you a difficult situation or to test you anymore. So when you say that this thing is good, God will actually make it revealed good with your own two eyes. And you could actually see how the thing was good. That's a secret that Judaism has that I believe allowed me to take a miserable, horrible situation to really, I got to be honest with you, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing. So yes, 100% the religion helped me in getting through. And when this whole thing started, also, it was right before Passover, and my whole business fell apart, and I had no other side business at that point in time. And many people had canceled their donations to the 4 rabbis that are part of my synagogue. And I gave each one of them $1,000 for Pesach, so that they should be able to make Passover. And I believe that in the merit of that, God has given me a tremendous amount of blessings. So the answer is yes.
Very inspiring.
Absolutely has helped me.
Okay, let's see if there's other question. Anybody else has question? Okay, someone wrote this comment. It's not really a question, though.
What's the comment?
Okay. Guys, this is the time to ask questions. You have Beryl Salomon in front of you. He's ready to answer any question. Yalla, go.
Should I read some comments or?
Sure. By the way, I'm used to being a little bit controversial. So even if there's not such nice comments, you can still put them.
Okay, no, it's just I agree the world will never be the same, but let's agree that this virus is not a cold or flu, and it's not something to be taken lightly. I don't think it's wrong to feel scared. I, for one, am terrified that the virus has reached my grandmother, and a little less concerned about being broke and not knowing 100% what's next for me.
So that comes from a lady that just heard the news today, I think yesterday, that her grandmother got the virus. So.
Listen, I'm very sorry for your grandmother, and she should have a refuah shlema. She should have a complete recovery. But we cannot allow fear to rule our lives. And a person has a risk from stepping out of his house in the morning, because a person could get hit by a car. A person could get killed by whatever it is. So the question is, am I going to allow the fear? There's a risk in life. Of course, it's the safe thing to stay in your house temporarily. But is that a way to live life? It's not a way to live life. Nothing is promised you. Tomorrow is not promised you. So your grandmother absolutely should stay in her house, and she should absolutely self-quarantine. But if you're healthy, and if you're young, and if you're able-bodied, it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to stop life. A lot of people are taking this excuse to stop life. And it's not. It's not an excuse. And by the way, you don't have to leave your house, but still move forward in your life, because this thing will end. And the question is, am I going to be worse off or better off when it ends? And unfortunately, I think that a lot of people are going to be worse off. Very, very upsetting.
Okay, another question came in. What are your 3 best advices to succeed in life?
3 best advice to succeed in life. I think number 1 is to trust in God. That's number 1, because I once had a guy when I was becoming religious. I wasn't always religious. I wasn't always observant to my Judaism. But I remember one time when I was becoming observant and I started wearing a kippah, I went to go have dinner at this guy's house in Westmount. Very, very, very wealthy guy. And he says, you know why I like religious Jews? I said, why? He says, because no matter how successful you become, you'll still be humble because you know that everything comes from God. So I think that trusting in God gives you humility, but it also gives you hope at the same time, even in the hardest times like we find ourselves in now. So that's one. Two is go faster, be unreasonable. Whatever everybody else is doing, outdo that. Whatever the normal in society is, if you put out normal levels of action, you're going to get normal results. If you put out incredible levels of action, you're going to get back incredible results. So that's my second piece of advice is outdo what is considered acceptable and normal. And then 3, is never stop trying. Never stop trying. Never be defeated. Because I've had so many miserable defeats in my life. And the problem is you still have to wake up the next day. It's the blessing and it's the problem. One of my mentors, he said to me, the good news about COVID-19 is you're going to survive this. The bad news about COVID-19 is you're going to survive this. So don't give up. Try a different angle, a different way, a different maneuver, a different this, a different that. Don't give up. Don't ever retreat, ever. You have to be relentless in your pursuit of success, whatever that success might be for you. It might be becoming a big Torah scholar. It might be being the best mother in the world. It might be being the best rabbi in town. It might be being the biggest businessman in the city, or whatever it is. Just be relentless at that. Relentless. This is good stuff, by the way. I can't wait for this.
Thank you for the amazing answer. He wrote in private. Thank you for the amazing answer.
He liked the answer, yes. I mean,
yeah, it was a pretty good answer.
You surprised yourself. One more question. Are you going to continue your business after we get out of this?
I mean,
the same one.
I mean, I am to a certain extent. I mean, we're still operating now, by the way, but I think it's at like 10% of what it was. 10%, maybe a little bit more, maybe like 15% of what it was. But we're gonna see. I mean, I can't sit around and wait. I have 3 children. I have a wife, 2 cars, a mortgage, food. I can't wait. It's very expensive to live.
Right.
Can't wait to see what's going to happen. I'm going to make it happen and then see it.
Yeah.
So is it? I mean, maybe. And if it is, it's going to be very, very different. I spoke to the people in my company already. I said, I want you guys to be partners, not employees. So even like the project manager, I would like a project manager to, instead of me paying a salary, I would just like to give you 10 or 15% of the deal. So if we're charging $10,000, you get $1,000 to manage the deal. The salesman, I don't want to pay you salary. I want to pay you 10% or 15% to manage the deal. And I'm going to do it very, very differently. Today, there's a big difference between, I've been really thinking about this. There's a really big difference. What I really realize in running a business is this. There's 2 types of people. There's people that bring value, and there's people that manage value. And there's a lot more people in the world. I want to put down the manage value, but it'll give me the wrong figure. There's a lot of people that manage value. There's not a lot of people that bring value. And the people that bring value in this world, no matter what the situation is, whether it's the best economy or the worst economy, they will always have success. So we have to train ourselves not to manage value that others bring in, but we have to train ourselves to bring value to the organization. That's the way, by the way, to make sure that you have a job at the end of this thing.
That is very big, what you just said. How do you, now that leads to another question, how do you become a person who brings value in your situation?
Okay, so listen, I'm going to get personal here. I have no choice. Okay, so I have a situation where we have a nursing home, 3 nursing homes in Texas that we have to do a shoot for. Texas is much more open with their COVID situation than, let's say, New York. They're much more, they're much closer to being out of it. So these nursing homes happen to have a problem that they need video production at their nursing homes, but they have COVID in the building. So the guy is trying to throw money at my company to get this done, and there's pushback from people in my company to do it because they have COVID. You know, there's COVID in the building. How are we going to do it? It's very stressful. It's a hard situation. You know, we don't want to do it. So I came in and I rolled up my sleeves. Keep in mind, I brought the lead to the table, and I rolled up my sleeves and I came up with an idea that we're not going to go into the physical building. We're just going to film the key people outside of the building talking, let's say the administrator or the nurses, whatever it is, keep social distance at 6 feet, not put a mic on their thing, but put a microphone, you know, that sticks out of the camera. We're going to film them like that. And we're going to have the nurses film inside the nursing home and send us that footage, and we're going to splice it into the video. So I'm not suggesting that every person has to bring the contract to the table, which I did in the first place. I'm saying that, okay, there's an opportunity here. It doesn't fit within this. I'm going back to our analogy. It doesn't fit within what exactly that we do, but let's think outside the box and make sure that that contract gets executed so that I can bring those dollars into the company and bring value to the company. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Everyone has to, you know, I made a video the other day. I was in a gorgeous 3-piece suit, gorgeous, if I must say so myself. And I was schlepping boxes to load a truck of goods that I was selling. Why? Because I had nobody else to load the truck. So I took a video of myself saying that this is not below me. I'm very proud to be a schlepper if that means getting the job done. So people have to bring value and get off of their high horse and realize that these are extraordinary times. And if I have to shine shoes to make a living, I'm going to do it. L'chaim.
Beautiful. Very, very inspiring. We have more questions.
Actually,
two very interesting questions. You're okay with more questions?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
What is your opinion of the future of banks?
I don't trust the bank. I don't trust cash right now. I don't trust anything. I only trust God. I don't trust anything. I think everything's in trouble. I think the governments are printing money right now. And I think that it's very scary. I think that even worse, the governments are printing money. Look what the government does, okay? The government will print money. And then they'll give it to the people. I think we've all been beneficiaries of the government's money in one way or another. Then we walk into Walmart and we buy a pair of whatever. We buy shoes for our kids. Or we buy a shirt. Or we buy a trampoline. And then you look at the trampoline, you see it's made in China, right? So the government, let's say Walmart gets to keep, let's say the trampoline is $100, let's just say. Walmart keeps 5 or 10 of those dollars, and then the other $90 are already in China for that trampoline. So the government is literally printing money and sending it overseas to China. China's getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. That money's not staying here because we don't manufacture anything here anymore. So I don't have confidence I don't have confidence. I'll give you another example, masks, okay? When the mask business, the 3-ply mask business was in its full swing, One of these masks was like $1.05. Today, you're lucky if you're getting 70 cents for it. And I got to tell you, in a month, they're going to be worth 30 cents. And in 2 months, they're going to be back to 4 cents. Why? Because there's so many masks that it became worthless. There was a picture, and what's it called? There was a famous picture from World War II in Germany where a person was taking money and she put it into her oven as fire, as wood, because the money was worth less than the amount of wood that he was able to buy. So governments are just printing money right now. It doesn't mean anything. So I don't have a lot of confidence left in the banks. I only have confidence in God and Mashiach. That's all I have confidence in.
Wow. Okay, and one more question. What books besides the Torah do you read to motivate your life?
So, good question. I can't say that the Torah motivates my life, by the way. I think it more guides my life. I don't know if I get motivation from the Torah. I think it's more of a guide. I don't think anyone gets motivated by ways, as they're in their car. It doesn't motivate you. It just sort of guides you in the right direction to go. Although I really like the story of Joseph. I find it very motivating. A great book. Okay, please write it down. You ready for this? I think that I would start with a book called 10X by Grant Cardone. 10 and the letter X by Grant Cardone. And when I have enough courage and enough time, I'll write a book.
We're looking forward to that.
Did you start to write your book?
The truth is, I'm so disorganized in my mind. Like I'm just. Some people are like laser shooters. Sharpshooters. I'm like a bomb. So I have a hard time focusing, but it's just an excuse.
Maybe if you take all your videos and you just write down.
Yeah, literally. It's actually
your posts are very, very inspiring. I must say. Very inspiring.
I appreciate. I don't get as much love on I don't get any love on Facebook because I think people on Facebook, and I'm sorry if anybody's watching this on Facebook right now, I don't feel that people on Facebook are looking to grow. They're looking more like for fun stuff, family stuff. On LinkedIn, I'm like one of the biggest influencers on the entire platform. So the same post that I'll post on LinkedIn will get like 150,000 views and 800 likes and who knows how many hundreds of shares. And on Facebook, it'll get like 29 likes because Facebook people are not like. And by the way, it's the same guy on Facebook and on LinkedIn. But when he's on LinkedIn, that guy wants to grow and learn, and when he's on Facebook, he wants to watch, I guess, pictures of people's mothers on Mother's Day. I guess.
Any other book? Can you give us like a list of 3 to 5 books?
The truth is, I've read all of them. Okay. I've read everything from Gary Vaynerchuk. I read everything from The Secret. I read everything that you could have. I read How to Win
Tony Robbins. What about Tony Robbins?
What?
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. I went through all of this material. I went through all of Dale Carnegie's Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. The problem is all that stuff is so fluffy. And Grant Cardone, he's not perfect. He's not I'm not suggesting that I take my spiritual advice from him. He's not my rabbi. I don't take my whatever marital advice from him. But when it comes to business, he knows what he's talking about. And that's the only guy that I learned business from is him. That's it. Grant Cardone, his name. Anything by him. By the way, go on YouTube. You can check out any of his stuff. He is my guy when it comes to motivation. Although I have to tell you, during COVID, I haven't needed so much motivation. I'm like pretty motivated. I think it's like the will to survive. You ever take a spider and start chasing it, trying to hit it? It really starts running.
Okay, interesting. Someone's wishing you, I hope everything will get better for you and your family and your business.
Amen. Thank you for your good wishes, but this is the best it's ever been. So
thank you for being positive, and you inspired us, you inspired me, and I'm sure you inspired the people watching you. We really, really appreciate it, and we can't wait to see your future posts of the changes of as we're changing.
The grand recovery.
Yeah, the grand recovery. I'm very positive. Recovery.
That's your
I have
hashtag.
to tell you, if I could leave you with one thought, I once had an Indian client, and he told me a very powerful in 2009 and 2010 when the world was melting. Then he told me like this. I told him I was upset. I was in the metal business. Things weren't going the way I wanted, and he said to me, "Life is not about weathering the storm. It is about dancing in the rain." And that's what I would like to leave you guys with. It's not about surviving the storm. Hunker down, dance in the rain, baby. Let's make it happen.
Thank you. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
God bless. Send me
Thank
the
you very
recording.
much, Belen.
Yeah.
I send you the video, sure. I will send you the link.
Thank you.
So much. Thank you so
Have a
much,
great
everyone. Thank you, Belen.
Bye.
Like I said in the beginning, it's the first time we do a conference, my wife and I. A great guest we have tonight, and I hope you were able to give you guys some inspiration, some practical tips, some elevation, like the Teva of Noach, that instead of just sinking is getting elevated by the flood. And that's what we are trying to do. And let's be a light for our family, our friends, and everyone around us. Thank you, Beret.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. I wish you a good night. We're going to have the recording available. Just email us, and we will be able to send you the link for the recording. If anyone wants to unmute himself to say bye-bye.
If anyone has something to share,
Yeah,
you're
now
welcome
it's like
to share.
Open discussion, guys.
You want to?
Listen, guys.
Yeah.
In 2014 of August, I created a Facebook group called Jewish Humor. And 6 years later today, I have over 43,000 people in this group. It's a growing community, and it's my way of contributing, and it's a beautiful thing. And people come to my group, they laugh, they enjoy, and they tell me this is the thing that's needed right now with all the tourists and all the problems. They come and they get some laughs and some relief. And Jewish humor is one thing that I've been doing. And something, Zalman, I sent to you and you never responded. I told you about it a while ago. It was called Market Hive, which I joined. And to this day, I still haven't made a dime in it, but I can tell you that around the corner, the projection looks very, very promising.
Yeah, Adam, call me when you get your first dollar.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's really amazing to have all you guys here tonight. Dina is here, Samuel, Marcelo, Benjamin Pelletier, Daniela, Cheryl, Sterna, on t'entend probablement ici. So I'm going to end this meeting. And again, thank you very much, everyone. It was an amazing time to speak with my wife, Sterna. And I think we're going to do it again. Right, Sterna?
Yeah, well, if you guys are interested, if you think we were helpful, and I would gladly do it again.
We will do it again. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye,
Good night. Laila Tov. Bonne soirée à tous. Merci. Thank you.